Mr. Zelensky always sounds reasonable, and I think he had a very reassuring and understanding audience in the G20, or as he calls it, the G19, because he doesn't recognize that Russia should be there, and indeed Russia is not there. Putin is hidden in the Kremlin and is represented by Lavrov, who may or may not have been hospitalized yesterday. Who knows? The snakes and ladders of this game are extraordinary. But Zelensky is quite right. This war should stop. And Putin's methodology of bombing power supplies and heating to force the entire population, that's particularly the civilian population, into the cold of a Ukrainian winter is barbaric, utterly, utterly barbaric. The Russians know only too well what a winter is like. I remember my first winter in Russia, and the snow was up to head height as I walked down the street, and the Russians had cut a path through the snow in the pavement. So banks of snow on either side at head height. And, it was cold. It was cold. And I remember also on that occasion drawing the bridge, the iron bridge, between across the river, looking at the Kremlin. So I've got this picture of the Kremlin. And my breath was freezing, and icicles were forming on my moustache. It was extraordinary, and I was very, very cold. And that Russia is imposing on its neighbours. For what reason? Because it wants to annex territory. And the idea that Russia should have annexed 4 territories because people there speak Russian in some form is absurd. If you compare the scenes when Russia drove into Kherson in March with the scenes of Ukraine recapturing the city the other day, the difference is striking. The difference is striking. In the former case, there was no one on the street. In the latter case, people were literally cheering. So, who in these 4 territories really wants to be part of Russia? This is thuggery, and it must be up for negotiation. It simply cannot be the case that this is part of Russian territory. And Putin needs to reflect on that.